it's always been interesting to me and sort of irritating, probably is a good way to describe it, that so many, for decades and decades now, so many of Hollywood's villains are business people. And not only they're business people, they like to use a phrase that I'm not sure if it originated in The Godfather or if it's just made really popular from The Godfather, but is, it's not personal, it's just business. And they say that whenever they're about to murder someone or do something horrible to someone, or they've just taken all of their money, or they've cheated them out of something or whatever. And it's meant to be this sort of idea that it should feel less bad because it's impersonal. But of course, it's not impersonal. You're murdering someone. That's pretty personal, first of all. And secondly, like it's not really good business or any kind of business at all. It's quite a lot of times what they're referring to is actually crime. It's sort of a different issue altogether.
It's just
weird.
That small little discrepancy.
Small distinction here, but that comes up in the Adam Project. It's just business, and I don't know what that trope is supposed to. I mean, like I know what the trope is supposed to mean in terms of the narrative purpose, right? The narrative purpose is some bad guy absolving themselves of doing bad things and just trying to say, hey, I'm just a businessman. But the effect it has on society, in my opinion, anyway, the effect it has on society is decades and decades and decades of people associating business with cheats, murderers, people who embezzle, like just the worst kinds of behavior imaginable. And so it's always bothered me as a trope because I think it primes people to see business people as bad, as criminals, basically. And then, of course, you've seen that in society a million times, right? Like, oh, anybody who's a billionaire got there because they're a criminal. Like, there's no other way to make millions of dollars, billions of dollars, whatever, without being a fraud, a cheat, somebody who's taking from others. And that's not true, but it's a very common thing to see. So I don't know. I thought that would be a good thing to talk about because Catherine Keener in the Adam Project is a perfect embodiment of that idea. Some greedy businesswoman who would rather destroy the environment and destroy the entire space-time continuum so that she can make money. Super unclear, especially because she also starts out rich, and she could do that. Well, I mean, I don't know. Paul and I were talking about this before we got back here. She couldn't do that because she literally is a paradox. She is the core time paradox in the Adam Project. But let's ignore that for our purposes right now and just talk about the "it's just business" trope. I don't know, Daphne. Why do you think, or have you given it any thought at any point? What do you think about that trope? I guess I'll just ask it that way. Like whenever you see it in a movie, what's your reaction?
It's just, oh, here it is again, because it's just something that we see very normally in today's pop culture, but also it's something that it is deep rooted into our education system, whether if you are in the United States or any other country in Latin America. Most of the times you will get taught that corporate business is bad, that capitalists are bad, that free market is bad, and that whatever has to do with entrepreneurship or business is bad. So I always wondered, because when I was growing up, I actually remember when I was doing one of my final tests in high school, I had to do this test in where I had to write an essay based on an image, and the image was the typical picture of the big fat capitalist and the poor skinny little guy behind eating just the crumbles of the cake. And I had to write an essay on that, and I was like, why? Like I was like, why are you making us think like what they wanted to hear was bad capitalist guy takes advantage of poor people. And it's always kind of like this idea of how economy and overall like any economical process is a zero sum game. And it's kind of interesting how that argument has evolved through time, because honestly it has made individuals all over the world feel hatred for innovation, feel hatred for capitalism, feel hatred for people who are doing great innovative things such as Elon Musk. I find it incredible the amount of people who hate Elon Musk. Like, he's giving out free internet for people in Ukraine as we're speaking, and he's doing great things for humanity. And he doesn't even have to do any of these things. So it's kind of interesting how we're always trying to present the bad guy or the corporate guy as bad, when really we can see a lot of examples how, they could be good. And also they, I think it's like the necessity of the creation of a fallacy of saying that people who defend free markets and capitalism is exactly the same as cronism. Because of course there are people who are taking advantage of, political power and the economic system, but that's called mercantilism and not capitalism or not free market stuff. So it's really, I mean, it really pisses me off all the time. But I mean, here, this is why we're here, because we try to argue why and present with evidence why this is not true and we should stop thinking this way.